In the heart of Southeast Asia, where the Chao Phraya River winds like a silver serpent through fertile plains, there once stood a city that dazzled the world, Ayutthaya. Founded in 1350, it rose from a modest settlement to become one of the richest and most cosmopolitan cities of its age. Merchants from Japan, China, India, Persia, and even far-off Europe crowded its harbors, their ships heavy with silk, spices, ceramics, and silver. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the chatter of dozens of languages. Its temples gleamed with gold leaf, their spires piercing the sky like spears of sunlight. Palaces towered above the city walls, and markets overflowed with goods from every corner of the known world. But beneath the splendor lay the same truth that shadows every empire. Wealth invites envy, and power breathes rivals. In the year 1569, this jewel of the East would face a storm unlike any it had known before. Not a storm of wind or rain, but of steel and fire. A war that would test the very soul of Siam. This is the story of the Burmese Siamese War of 1568 to 1569, a conflict that would end not in glory, but in humiliation, and leave scars that would echo through centuries.
The mid-16th century was an age of ambition in Southeast Asia. To the west, the Toungoo Dynasty of Burma had risen under the leadership of King Bayinnaung, a man whose vision was nothing less than the unification of the region under his banner. His armies had already swept through much of modern-day Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and beyond, leaving a trail of vassal states in their wake. To the east, the kingdom of Ayutthaya stood proud and wealthy, a hub of trade and culture, but also a kingdom plagued by internal rivalries. Its kings ruled over a patchwork of provinces, each with its own ambitions and loyalties. Between them lay Land Sang, the kingdom of 1,000,000 elephants, whose rulers played a careful game of diplomacy and opportunism. The region was a living chessboard, and every king was both player and piece. Alliances shifted like sand, and the line between friend and foe could vanish overnight. In this game, the stakes were not just land or treasure, they were survival itself.
In Ayutthaya, the seeds of disaster were sown not on the battlefield, but in the palace halls. King Mahintra, young and ambitious, faced a court divided by factionalism. Advisors whispered of threats from the north, of Phitsanulok, a vassal state under Burmese influence, as both a danger and an opportunity. The decision was made. Ayutthaya would strike first, seizing Phitsanulok and weakening Burma's hold. But in choosing to act, the king underestimated the man who sat upon the Burmese throne. Bayinnaung was no ordinary monarch. He was a strategist, a conqueror, and a master of turning his enemies' moves against them. The first whispers of war had begun, and soon they would grow into a roar. Messengers rode out under cover of night, alliances were tested, and the fate of kingdoms began to shift with every passing day. When Bayinnaung answered Ayutthaya's challenge, he did so with overwhelming force. From the heart of Burma, he summoned an army the likes of which the region had rarely seen. Tens of thousands of soldiers, thousands of horses, and hundreds of war elephants. These elephants were the tanks of their age. Towering beasts clad in armor, their tusks tipped with steel, capable of smashing through enemy lines and sowing terror with every step. The march south was a feat of logistics as much as of arms. Through dense jungle, across rivers and over mountains, the Burmese host advanced like a tide that could not be turned back. Villages along the way saw the horizon darken with banners and dust, and they knew that the storm was coming. For the people of Ayutthaya, the news of this advancing force was like the distant rumble of thunder, a warning that the tempest was drawing near.
By late 1568, the Burmese army had encircled Ayutthaya. The city's mighty walls, which had withstood countless raids, now faced their greatest test. Outside, siege engines hurled stones and fire. Inside, the people endured hunger, disease, and fear. The Chao Phraya River, once a lifeline for trade and food, was now a barrier patrolled by enemy ships. Appeals for aid went out to Lanzong, but the promised relief never came in time. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The golden spires of Ayutthaya still caught the sunlight, but within the wars, hope was fading. The city was a cage, and the Burmese were tightening the bars. Each night, the defenders lit torches along the walls, their flickering light a fragile defiance against the darkness pressing in from beyond.
On August 2, 1569, the end came. The gates that had stood for centuries groaned and splintered under the relentless assault. Burmese soldiers surged into the streets, their war cries mingling with the trumpets of elephants. Fires broke out, smoke curling into the sky as the defenders were overwhelmed. King Mahintrathirath and the royal family were captured, their fate sealed in the hands of their conquerors. The city that had been the pride of Siam was now a prize of war, its treasures plundered, its people subdued. Ayutthaya had fallen, not to time, but to the might of a rival kingdom. And in that moment, the jewel of Siam lay shattered. The Burmese occupation would not last forever, but the humiliation of 1569 left a mark that endured. Ayutthaya would rise again, rebuilt and resplendent, but the memory of its fall became a warning etched into the nation's history. Empires rise and empires fall, but the stones remember, and in their silence they tell us power is fleeting, unity is fragile, and the lessons of history endure for those willing to listen.